Okay, in the timeline, we are talking about continuous rasterization. What the does that mean? Well, it's a cool feature in After Effects that allows you to make things a lot easier and make things super high quality and whatnot. So, what are we looking at? Well, in the timeline, your After Effects will render in this order: masks, effects, transformations, blending modes, and layer styles. But with collapsed transformations and continuously rasterizing, we're going to have a new render order: transformation first, rasterize, effects, masks, transformations, blending modes, layer styles. So what does this mean? Well, After Effects is a raster-based program. Basically, it doesn't convert things to vectors via fancy algorithms. It uses pixels. So to basically have everything work correctly in After Effects, it has to raster everything. So how do we interpret this? Well, if you've used Adobe Illustrator before, you'll know that any logo that you work with in Illustrator is a vector file. It uses shape layers and whatnot. So you can bring in your Illustrator files directly into After Effects, and we can see here it is a vector file. So if I were to collapse everything right here, and if we look closely, there's an Illustrator icon. If we right click, reveal layer source and project, and under my vector folder, hey, there's a .ai file that I could go in and check. Pretty cool, right? Here's the issue with vector files in After Effects. It does not start rasterizing them, converting them into something that After Effects can use. So what that means is if I were to scale this layer up, ew, gross. Look at that. That looks gross. It's all pixelated and blurry and whatnot. How could I use this? This doesn't look professional at all. Well, if you hit this button right here, all those edges are sharp and clean and awesome. So that is a really good thing to get into the practice of, rasterizing everything so that you can get sharp edges. Now, there are some circumstances where you won't, and you'll eventually start understanding the limitations and pros of using this feature in After Effects. So let's just turn that off and just bring down the scale. And if we unshy our layers, so we reveal our hidden layers, we have this cool little animation right here of a 3D camera going through some hexagons. Now, that looks pretty cool. We're seeing some cool thing with that square over there. We're going through those hexagons, but here's the problem with this. We have 32 layers in our timeline, or like 30 or 20 or so layers of these hexagons. That's pretty cumbersome to work with. So the reason why I bring up continuous rasterization is it allows you to work with 3D space much easier. So if I were to take these shape layers, select shape layer 24 and go all the way down to shape layer 1, Control Shift C, and we'll call this raster demo hexagon. Okay, now if we scrub through our timeline, we lost our 3D properties. And we're gonna talk about 3D in a later video, but what this just did is we pre-composed all those hexagons, so now it's on its own 2D layer. It's not gonna interact with my camera right here. So what do we do to fix that? Well, we could bring all those layers back, but then we have that giant composition. Well, if we hit that continuously rasterize button right here, it's gonna retain those 3D properties inside of that layer. And hey, look, we're getting the same animation again. So if we just hit spacebar and play that back, pretty cool stuff. And what's also really cool about this feature is now I can add effects to just this one layer, and then it will add it to the entire rasterized comp. So let's go to effects and presets, and we'll just look up glow again that I had searched. We're gonna use a plugin that I have just because I think it looks better, but you could use anything else. Now, hey, there's a cool glow for these hexagons. There's just one problem now, and that's a limitation with the continuously rasterized feature. If you add any effect onto a continuously rasterized layer, it will lose its ability to interact with 3D layers inside your main composition, so wherever your camera is. So we can see that this blue square at the moment is now on top because this square on my timeline is above that hexagon layer. Now, if I were to delete that glow that we just made on that new pre-comp with the rasterization, it interacts with 3D once again. So there are some limitations with this feature, but if you are doing some basic 2D stuff without a lot of effects, this is a wonderful tool that you can use to get some cool 3D effects and not have timelines that look like butt. Alright, that's today's quick tip. I hope you learned something. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. Like if you learned something, and if you need more help, feel free to hit me up on Instagram. Again, my name is John Jags. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my face because you're not getting it back, so I hope it was worth it. And I will leave you with this. Eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You will make some gains, I promise. Alright, goodbye. Goodbye. Where's my lens cap? Bye. Put the place up.